Yes, we are live. Woohoo! Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Gamma Dames. We hope you're all quickly logging in to watch. I am Holly.
I'm Lucy.
And I am Sarah.
Yay!
Yay!
And we're only 3 minutes late this time. Yes!
And
we're getting better.
We're getting quicker.
We should say it's not clickbait. Mark Miller is joining us momentarily.
Yeah, we haven't got like a cardboard cutout of Mark. He will actually be here shortly. But we thought we'd start off and give you some of our recommendations straight away, just so we've got those done. I can start if you want, because I've got loads. I've got 3. My one from this week is The Lost Boys, which was going to be a given that I loved that because I love the team on it and I love the movie. And it was a really faithful like sequel to the original movie. It completely ignores the second and third movies, which is amazing because they're awful. And something really quite shocking happens in it that made me go, no! So yeah, that is one of them. And also Shade the Changing Girl, which I think was last week, is another one of mine. That's one of the young animal ones that DC are doing, and they're really strange, so I really like them. And I can't remember what my third one was going to be, but there's 2, so read both of those.
I picked up The Lost Boys, and I actually thought of you because I'm not a big fan of that film. I don't really get it. I don't get why people love it so much.
What? What?
But I did pick it up, but I haven't read it yet.
See, I am so relieved that you liked it because I was really concerned that it was going to come out and you were going to be like, no.
No, thankfully I loved it.
Okay,
It'd be like Civil War all over again.
Imagine that would be a nightmare. But yeah, my recommendation isn't actually a comic book shops, and it is this lovely hardback Jock.
Sarah's turned into a darling.
Absolutely incredible. See that? There's just so many pages of like inks and colors, and then what they've done is they've laid acetate over with the inks on it, so you can look at the. Oh, it's absolutely gorgeous.
Oh.
So that's by Will Dennis out Jock.
Yay! Lucy, what's yours?
I promise I'm not sucking up. It was genuinely my pick and recommendation. But it's Reborn issue 1. That is by Mark Miller. Because everyone knows that I'm a proper little fangirl of Mark Miller. And I honestly think he has the Midas touch with my personality. There's very little he's done in the last couple of years that I just haven't loved. And I just loved it. And I don't want to say what it's about because it very quickly breaks into what it's about. So I don't want to spoil it. But it's effectively questioning our afterlife and what happens after death. And there's like, what happens. It's good. It's brilliant. It's very sci-fi and it's awesome.
And you see, the good thing about that book for me, I mean, I'm of the unpopular opinion that Greg Capullo has done nothing good since Spawn. But it's really nice, actually, in Reborn that his art is back to the standard that I kind of expect. Like,
yeah, the art is
but
stunning.
in Reborn, it's gorgeous. So
yeah, it's beautiful. Oops.
That was, yeah, so there's been some really good stuff out last couple of weeks, actually. So yeah, there's plenty for you all to go and read. I can't think what else has happened in geeky news, really. I think we've all been consumed with Mark Miller fever.
Yeah, we've all been way too excited, I think.
Which is not a bad thing, I suppose.
It is not. It's never a bad thing.
No. And Doctor Strange is out in a few weeks.
just ignore the unprofessional person here watching our own podcast.
Yes. Amazing.
I forgot to put
Was
it on
that
mute.
me?
Yeah, I think so. I think it was all of us.
Aww.
I love
But yeah, I mean, Doctor Strange is very soon, right?
very soon. Next week or week after, I think, around Halloween.
So, yeah.
I'm just not that
I'm
excited about it.
looking forward to it.
Yeah, I feel about it like how I did about Ant-Man, where I'm just like, I I'll see it, but I'm not expecting much. So I'm hoping it's going to be good. I keep seeing there was like a report that said that early screenings have said that it's Marvel's next Winter Soldier, like it's that good, and I'm like, really though?
Well, your standards are just unrealistically high with that film.
Yeah, true. I have watched Civil War 5 times now though, so.
And
well, at least you've watched it for me.
every time you watch it, does your rating change? Does it fluctuate?
Yeah, it's gone up a little bit now because I feel like now I know what's coming, I can appreciate the stuff that I liked a lot more, and there is some great stuff in it, and I just like pretend the bad stuff isn't happening.
You just mute it and close your eyes. And
yeah, I
sing.
think I need to do like my own cut of that film with like the stuff. It would literally be like a few scenes that I was like, oh, these are amazing. Everything else, bin.
You should see if you can
now,
get like
Holly, though, did you know, Holly, that Mark is Team Stucky?
Oh my goodness.
Did you know that before
Holly
today?
has had a new favourite writer.
Yeah, I had a brief bit of conversation actually with him about that via DM, but yeah, you've reminded me to bring that up. I'll be like, so how do you feel about the Civil War movie? Also, how much gayer did you think it should be?
Yeah, I thought if you hadn't heard that already, it's something you might want to know.
Yeah. Okay.
That's very essential to Holly.
Mark, when are your plans to write the Stephen Bucky romance comic that we've all been waiting for?
Hey, he does great what ifs. That's not like out of the question.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, yes.
That'd be amazing. What if they actually were gay and then Holly would kickstart that so hard. She'd be the only pledger. And they already reached 100%.
The only person to back it, and it's done.
Just take my shop.
And the last page would just be me like screaming with joy. It happened.
She'll be like, I have it all, but I have one request. And then the last panel is just her looking through the window watching them.
With holding a giant wheel of cheese.
Or in a vicar outfit going, I now pronounce you man and husband.
Yes. Oh my god, please. I hope so. That would be great. We can put that to Mark when he joins us.
Mark, we have your best hit coming. Like, just to hear about.
If he watches this back afterwards, he's going to be like, what the hell were they talking about before I got there?
That's a really good
What
point.
can I sign up for? Who are these mentals?
Yes. Amazing.
Now, the good thing is, like, I think he's already aware of my insanity, and I think he's obviously spoken to both of you, so he knew exactly what he was signing up for.
Wow, very true. Very true.
It's so funny. I don't know how to pronounce your name. I'm so sorry. Seiko Pick has already commented on YouTube saying, wondering how long till the cheese. And you've already mentioned
right
it.
Right next to me, some cheesy chips and gravy, literally to my left. I'm winning.
See, there's always cheese. I'm having cheese. Yeah, the cheese always comes up. Cheese and sex robots, obviously.
Yeah, it's just standard. Yeah. In fact, my sex robot brought me my chips and gravy.
Yes.
That was him just then figuring out the headphone situation.
Yeah. Amazing. Yes. Oh. Oh dear.
He says, is he on? Let me see. Not yet.
Oh, the wonders of technology.
I know, yeah.
Live technology as well.
Hello.
Oh,
there he is.
Hi guys, how you doing?
Hiya.
This is
I forgot how
amazing.
Scottish you are.
So yeah, welcome to our living rooms, bedrooms, your office.
I know. I had tidied up. I forgot that this was a video thing, and I didn't tidy up.
It's okay. I tidied up my windowsill too.
It's funny. My office looks like, you know, in CSI, where they find a mad guy who's been kidnapping people and where the bodies are.
Awesome.
So sorry I'm a little bit late. We had all the children round at the neighbours, and we were all sitting having a big curry, and I was sitting so happy and satisfied, you know, for like an hour, just letting all the food digest. and totally
We do
forgot the
that.
time. So I run like hell down the road, you know. So.
We do that every month. It's amazing we're on time this month. It's only because you were here, we were on time.
Yeah, we were like, oh, we're accountable to somebody. We better get ready.
So where is everybody? Oh, hang on, I saw Simba. I think I saw Simba on a ship in the background. Yes. You know, we watch The Lion King every day, every single day.
Every day?
Every day. I know every single line of The Lion King. Like my 4-year-old was into it, but now my 2-year-old's obsessed with it. And my 4-year-old's into Linda Carter, Wonder Woman, Christopher Reeve, Superman.
Yes.
Oh, amazing.
Winner.
She's been trained, you know.
Incredible.
I'm so excited. Linda Carter is the best.
Oh, I love it. You know what I love? Like, my 4-year-old daughter has the exact same taste as a man in his 40s. Like, she won't accept Henry Cavill. She sees him as a fake, he's a phony and everything. She loves Christopher Reeve, you know.
Amazing.
This is good. You've raised her well.
You know, the nice thing about children is it's kind of like what you want the world to be like in 30 years' time, right? So that's your responsibility. Yeah. I want my kids to condemn, to be those people online condemning the DC movies. I'm training them to do it right now.
That's parenting goals right there.
Yes, absolutely.
How are you guys?
What?
How are you guys?
Yeah, we're good.
Yeah, we're all good. All good.
I'm hot. I've got a spotlight on me. I didn't think this through.
This could be an
I have several lights.
That's the abduction that's happening.
Bye.
One by one, you're just going to all go.
Someone commented on YouTube and asked you, Mark, what do you think of the live action Lion King coming up?
Well, do you know what's funny? I think I had the same reaction as the entire internet, which was, what? Like, furious for about 10 seconds, and then I read it was Jon Favreau, and then I kind of relaxed. I was like, oh yeah, this will be good, you know? I think if it had been anyone else, I'd have remained furious, but Favreau did a great job with the Jungle Book, you know? Jungle Book was great.
Yeah, it was good. I agree.
I'm the only one who isn't excited about these live action
No,
films.
I'm not. I've
I
avoided
didn't like
all
Jungle
of them.
Book. I didn't like Cinderella. I'm not looking forward to Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah, but can we just talk about the fact that it's Emma Watson though? Like, I love her.
I don't. She can't act.
Oh my god, I thought we were friends.
Oh, there's 2 million Potterheads. We'll have
Number 1 on the hit list.
Oh no.
If you don't hear from me next week, you know where I've gone.
Yeah, someone did Expelliarmus on you and cashed you.
What freaks me out about Emma Watson is she still looks about 12. So
yeah, she does.
when I see her dating an adult in real life, because she's like 25 or something, but when I see her dating a 25-year-old guy, I feel like I should call the cops.
Do your fatherly instincts kick in?
But yeah, the live action
Emma.
I kind of love the idea of the live action things though too, because I'm kind of curious, you know, how they'll do Peter Pan and all that sort of stuff, and Aladdin, you know, and if they're bad, we just don't go and see them. The beautiful thing about being the audience is we don't take that risk. Disney spends $200 million and we think about spending a tenner. So I think, well, you know what, if it's good, I'll go and see it. If it's bad, I'll stay away. So I'm quite philosophical about these things.
I
think I'll avoid Aladdin.
No,
I
Aladdin
have the
is
same opinion as Mark. Like, we all saw it with Suicide Squad. I have just outright refused to pay to see it. I'm not doing it.
That's what I'm going to do.
So I'm kind of the same as you, Mark. If I don't like the look of it, I'm not going.
Well, I used to be a completist. Like, see, when I was even in my 20s, I would just go and see it because it was a comic book movie. But as I've got older, I think I've become more discerning. I'm not wasting 2 hours if I'm not going to like it. You know?
Yeah, that makes sense.
But I went to see Superman 4 twice when it came out. I went twice, one day after the other, you know. Just because it was a Superman movie, I had to go.
That's optimistic, I suppose. Yeah, Aladdin I'm going to avoid. I can't deal with them doing anything to the genie, so I think Aladdin I'll avoid.
That's true. That I think any remake, like Jumanji,
yeah,
and I know that's meant to be like a sequel, but because it's Robin Williams was in the original, I don't think I can go near it.
Who would be the worst person to play the genie? Who'd be your worst person?
Oh my goodness.
Idris Elba.
Idris Elba.
No, I think my worst would be, although he's not acting anymore, Rick
Yeah.
Moranis.
Rick Moranis.
And him.
What if, you know, Rick Moranis he's retired 15 years or something.
Yeah.
What if he goes online and Googles himself? And he's like, I'm thinking about working again, and then he just plays the podcast.
Oh no, that would be awful. Oh,
He'd come back just to prove you wrong, Holly.
oh no.
It'd be the best genie there ever was.
Oh. Yeah, no. Him or John Travolta. I don't like John Travolta.
Oh no, that would be awful.
Oh, I don't know.
Oh no, you know who'd be an
John
awful
Travolta genie.
No, no,
Brilliant.
Robert De Niro.
I mean, Genie does have that Robert De Niro line, doesn't he? So it's not that far off.
A really annoying comedian, though. I think an annoying comedian doing the genie would be terrible. Like Russell Brand.
Like Russell Brand, yeah.
Oh no. I feel like the more we say it, the more like it might happen.
Like saying Beetlejuice 3 times.
No one say his name once more. Me and Mark both said it.
He will appear. Awesome. Should we jump straight into some questions?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's
I've got one here. Ariadne says, a bunch of Mark's work has now been adapted for screen. What would he consider the most faithful to the source?
Oh, I think it's cut out on my end. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right, we're back, right. The most faithful, I would say probably Kick-Ass 1, I would say. Kick-Ass 1 was very, very, very accurate and actually quite spooky because it's the first time I'd seen something that was a drawing that was on notepads, you know, when I'm sitting in a bar with John Romita Jr., to see it being costumes and actors standing in those costumes is kind of weird. I think it's the closest a man can come to giving birth, you know, because it's something that was inside you that's suddenly out there in the world. And it actually is quite emotional, and I find myself actually very paternal with those actors because they were little ideas that we had and little doodles and little drawings. But I really care about everybody, you know, like I check to see they're all okay and everything. Like I feel that way about Aaron Johnson and I feel that way about Chloe Moretz because I feel in some way related to them because of it. So the fact that I see somebody slagging Chloe off online, I get really angry and sort of join in. And so you do it. It's a funny relationship when you create something. It's obviously I love my children more than I love the characters, you know. But it is a little bit like your kids. You know?
How did you feel about Civil War, the movie?
You know, I kind of liked it, but I was a little bit bored. If I'm totally honest, like I think I'm kind of over those characters a little bit. Like, I mean, 10 years ago when I did the comic, it was really fun to do, although it was very hard work, you know, because you're coordinating with 40 other creative teams, you know, who are doing all the crossover books. So it was really difficult. And Brian Bendis had warned me about this, and Marv Wolfman had talked about it when he did Crisis. And you don't really understand it until you're doing it yourself, just how difficult it is. Because it's very hard to write a story, never mind write a story that's tying in with lots of people.
Yeah.
But the movie, by the time it came around, I feel as if I'd heard the story before, you know, it'd been around 10 years. And seeing two guys punch each other in real life who you like is quite hard to watch. Like, you know, you like Cap and you like Iron Man. It's mummy and daddy fighting. You don't want to see them hit each other, you know. Whereas when it's drawings, it's a little different. You're one step removed a little bit. But I actually, I don't know if it works as well as the first Avengers movie. I think the first Avengers movie just the right balance of fun and a great story, and the performances were all good. I think I'm a little over these guys now. I'm ready for something else, I think now.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah. Have you read any of the comics, the Civil War 2, the recent?
I did. I caught up on them recently and I enjoyed it. I thought it was good. I mean, I love Brian. Brian's a great pal of mine. And I mean, it's weird to think 16 years ago we both started around the same time at Marvel. So it is funny, we were both just fresh-faced guys coming out of the indie scene almost, you know, like that. We did no successes at all. Like, I mean, prior to working on the Ultimate line, we were just guys whose books got cancelled, you know, or we would phone up every week to find out if our book was still going to be published next month, you know. So it was amazing. We both experienced sales success at exactly the same time. So the two of us, you kind of become a little bit like brothers like that, you know, although we only meet every few years, we're in contact a lot, and I'll always keep an eye on what Brian's up to.
Awesome. Cool.
I don't think I've ever told you this, Mark, but anyone who knows me knows this fact.
Okay.
Civil War is the reason I own a comic shop.
Really?
I went to your convention, or your wife's convention, Kapow.
Yeah.
I went to the very first one, and I went with my boyfriend at the
So
time.
good.
And I better pick up a comic. I was into games. I had a game shop.
Yeah.
And I went, I guess I better pick up a comic. So I just picked up Civil War because I think it was like a tenner or something. And I went back to the hotel and I read it in one sitting. And then I closed the book and I went, well, that's it. I'm a comic fan now. And that was it.
Amazing.
And ever since then, you can see I love comics.
You've got a lot of comics.
I review comics and I own a comic shop, all because Civil War was the first
That's
comic I read.
amazing. I feel, on the one hand, I feel inspirational. On the other side, I feel like a drug dealer.
No, you owe me a lot of money. I am poor now.
Oh, that's lovely to hear. I love to hear that, because it's funny, when you do this job, you do it essentially from a room, so you don't really see who's reading it a lot of the time. So it's lovely to think of, somebody maybe enjoying it after a hard day's work or something like that, or somebody inspired to do it with their life, like become a creator or open a store or something. I love to hear stuff like that.
Do you think you'll ever do another Kapow?
Well, my wife, it's funny because I got all the praise for this, because Kapow was obviously awesome, it was amazing, but it was my wife and her sister, Sarah, they ran it. And I think one of the reasons that convention was so good is because they weren't people who'd been to conventions in the past. So, comic conventions are usually a little bit chaotic and not terribly well organised sometimes, and people are standing around longer than they should be and so on. Kapow is just like a Swiss watch, and it was in the most beautiful location. Instead of being out in the sticks, it was kind of right in the heart of Islington, in the prettiest part of London. And it was like, it was like a convention in Paris or something. It just felt amazing. Instead of out, most of them are kind of out in kind of quite bleak areas sometimes, And I think the girls had just not been sure what to do, so just did the kind of show that they would go to personally. So they put a huge amount of work into it. I mean, my wife at the time worked with a few people who had an events company, and she'd never organised a comic show before. And everybody said it was the best show they'd ever been to. It looked great. The convention list was there. At a British convention, we had Chris Hemsworth and Tom Hiddleston show up, and just come in and do a big panel. And, it was actually just one of those great, or for 2 years running, it was one of those, just great events in the year. But the time involved was enormous. And she does so many other things. She's a producer and everything as well. And she runs my company. So, it was 6 months of the year that she just didn't have anymore. And once we started having even more children, it just became almost impossible, I think, to do. So maybe someday, maybe we'll get back to it at some point, but we're so busy just now between comics and the films. And like I say, Lucy and Sarah are involved in so many things, it's crazy. They're the brains of this outfit, I'm just the pretty face at the front of it. Yeah.
I'd love another one. I'd be really happy
that.
with another one.
I would too.
Yeah, me too.
Kapow was the kind of earn yourself brownie points with me, so to speak, because the first Kapow was when I was really, really pregnant. Sat on the steps outside.
Yeah.
And then
Oh, sorry, you're cutting out? Yeah.
Oh, Sarah's a robot again.
We keep losing her.
I think she was trying to say it was a good con.
yeah.
Awesome.
It's so
Do
weird
you
to
have
think I was there when Sarah was there.
any of that at all.
Yeah, and so was I. I was there as well.
No, that's so weird.
Yeah.
Do you guys not know each other then, no?
No,
No.
it was my very first con. I didn't even know anyone.
It's a funny thing being at your first con, isn't it? Because now when I go to cons, I know everybody because I've been in the industry since I was 19. But I remember my first con, I didn't even have anyone to go with. And I was 17 or 18. And I remember just walking around for hours, knowing nobody. And I was like the loneliest guy at this convention. And I remember when we were at Kapow, my panel, there was maybe 500 people in the hall. And I said to everyone, budge up, everybody squeeze in together. And I want you to shake hands with the person beside you because they might be here on their own. And they might not know anyone, or maybe even give them a little hug. And everybody kind of did it. It was really nice, and everybody sort of got to know each other, and I had them all introduced to each other. And there was actually, I'd say about a quarter of the hall put their hand up and said that they didn't know anyone else there, so they were in that same situation. And it's quite daunting, isn't it? Because you feel at conventions, everybody kind of knows each other, because you get to know each other pretty quickly, and your first one's quite scary, I think. Now I remember walking for hours around this hall trying to find a familiar face and looking through back issue boxes and stuff.
Oh, how lovely. Is there any like creators, like writers or artists at the moment that are upcoming that you that you have been particularly interested in, like any new people?
Well, in terms of upcoming, it's hard to say, but I mean, people I'm really following at the moment are probably the same ones everybody is. You know, I love Jeff Lemire. I think he's doing a great job.
Yeah.
Scott Snyder's fantastic. I love Scott Snyder. Who else am I reading? I always read Kirkman. You know, I really enjoy Walking Dead. Brian Vaughan's amazing. Anything Brian Vaughan does that comes out, I love. Probably, I mean, these are the most obvious ones to say, but sometimes it's obvious because they're so good. You know, these people are really terrific. You know, I met Marguerite Bennett actually. Like, she was over here for a convention, and she's great. I'm loving Animosity's a terrific comic.
Yeah, that's amazing.
It's great. There's a lot of good people just now, actually. What's quite nice is there's a whole wave of new people have come in over the last 5 years or so who are very, very good, and the old ones are still pretty good. You know, so like there's a lot of kind of good creators at the moment, and it's quite a nice time to be reading comics. You know, there's a lot of good stuff. I mean, obviously, Image is doing a lot of good stuff just now, but I love seeing DC's resurgence. I feel DC's got so interesting again recently that for the first time in quite a long time, I'm picking up a lot of DC stuff again.
Yeah, Rebirth is amazing. I don't think I've been disappointed by anything so far. It's been really, really good. That you can tell they've put a lot of kind of time and effort into choosing the right people for the right books.
Yeah, and Joshua Williamson, that's another guy. The guy who's doing The Flash is terrific as well. I really like.
Oh, Liam Sharp, that's on Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
I love him so much.
That's great.
I think if I was to try and get you to work with like 2 artists, I would love to see you work with Ben Oliver and Lee Bermeo.
Oh, Lee's great. He and I actually had a drink together 16 years ago in San Diego. And I remember we were in Jim Lee's house, and I remember he and I both being...
Obviously.
We were, I remember us both vomiting on Jim Lee's tennis court.
Amazing.
And this would be the only time that anyone's ever heard that it was us. You know, Jim would have just found this next morning. You know, so.
Right, so if Jim Lee's watching this, you're in trouble.
Yes.
And now I can tell Lee I know that.
Amazing. Are there any
I would love to work with him.
have there been any characters or stories that you would love to write that you haven't had the chance to do?
Oh yeah, lots, because what happened was about 5 years ago, I went full-time into Creator Owns to do MILLAR, which has been so amazing. I mean, I've never enjoyed doing my job as much as I have over the last few years. It's not even just the cinematic side of it, which is really amazing. It's so exciting to walk onto a set that was a drawing, you know, that like I say, you feel really involved in. But to actually just be doing what you want to be doing, like not compromising at all. Like if I want to write a story about an aging Buck Rogers kind of guy, I could just write Starlight. Or if I want to do a big fantasy epic, I don't have to run it by an editor or anything. I just get Greg Capullo together and we do Reborn. So I love that side of it, but there is still the fan in me that desperately wants to do those characters. And I've done a lot of the Marvel ones, like I got to do the Avengers with the Ultimates. I've done X-Men, I've done Fantastic Four, written Spider-Man and Wolverine, done 2 runs on Wolverine. So I feel as if I've kind of covered Marvel. There isn't really any Marvel stuff that I'm desperate to do, but I'm aching to do DC, and like I just don't have time. But I am absolutely carving out 3 months to do like a big Superman project. Like Dan DiDio and I have been talking informally for about a year. I'm friendly with Dan. I really like him anyway, so he and I talk a lot over email and everything. And I really want to do a big Superman project, and I'm hopefully going to write it in a year's time or maybe less. And Superman's my favourite thing, right, ever. I love Superman. So I don't want to write a Superman story unless it's regarded as the best one. You know, I want to go into it, like, unless I can make it the best Superman story, I'd rather not have it out there. You know what I mean? I want to just put my heart and soul into it. And I've been putting notes together for a little while, and I've got a take on Superman that nobody's ever done. It's like in the 78-year history or whatever, this take has never been done. And it's a good one. I'm really pleased with it. And I've told some friends about it, and they were like, oh my goodness, that's very interesting, you know? So I think that's definitely on the agenda, I think, in the next year. I'm itching to get into that. I actually sat and plotted some of it a couple of weeks back.
Well, this is actually kind of my question for you. one of the reasons why you are one of my favorite creators is because you have this absolute insane ability to make such good what if stories. So many of your stories are like a normal situation that we can think of, but you change one thing which changes the reality we know on its head.
Yeah.
How do you keep doing that? Like, where do you keep getting the inspiration from?
Well, it's funny, it's very interesting you say that, because I think it's really important when you do a story to just give it one thing, like that one hook to it. Like, I'll give you a perfect example. Richard Donner, you know, who directed The Omen and Superman, you know, is one of my absolute heroes. And Richard Donner's thing is that you can't take people on a journey and then take them on a second journey within the same story. And it's one of his maxims, you know. And he said, I won't name the movie, you know, because, you know, I don't want to divulge a confidence, but he was saying one movie didn't work because it was about two things. It wasn't about one thing. It's like if you overcomplicate something, you destroy the story. A story is a fragile thing. So you take a reader on a journey and you just give them an example of where you're taking them. But then if you take them into another genre from there or whatever, then you confuse the reader because you're already taking them from their daily life into this fantasy realm, which is any story. But then if you do a genre mashup or something like that, then you overcomplicate it, you over-egg it. And that's what I try and do. I try and distill an idea down to the simplest thing possible so that the reader knows the journey that's going on, and the surprises should be within the story itself. You know, you don't actually overcomplicate the story itself. So, so like, for example, you know, Reborn, where do we go when we die? It's a very, very simple question. You know, like, that shouldn't be too difficult to understand as a concept. Or Kick-Ass, what if somebody in real life tried to be a superhero, you know? Like, if you have to go on to a second or third line or whatever to explain what your story is, then you've probably lost the reader before they've even picked up the comic. If you think of all your favourite movies or all your favourite books, and I don't think it dumbs it down to say this, you know, but you can generally crystallise them down into what the core concept's about. All the best stuff. Batman is a billionaire, you know, who makes sure the terrible thing that happened to him as a kid doesn't happen to anyone else. You know, that's what he does every night. You know, Superman lost his planet, so he's here to save ours. You know, like, I think the best ideas are the ones you can simplify down to one line like that.
That's actually really good advice for anyone writing or creating anyway, so thank you.
And I think it's mistaken for dumbing down because it's really not. You know, I think it's actually almost more sophisticated to be able to simplify it. It's like a song lyric, you know? You take it down to like the briefest thing it possibly can be, and then you know if it works. It's like drawing. Frank Whiteley and I talk about this a lot, that he said bad artists put so much detail into the page because they're trying to hide the fact that they don't have a good figure drawing. Whereas the really brilliant artists, like a Modigliani or somebody like that, you know, or an Alex Toth, they just use a few lines, but they're so sure where those lines are going that because they're masters. And I think it's the same with writing as well.
Cool. We've got quite an interesting one on Twitter from Geek Acres. That is, do you have any collectibles of characters that you've written? So toys or figures or anything?
Over here, I've got Christopher Reeve's Superman kit.
I'd spotted that.
And downstairs, actually, in the dining room, I've actually got the cat from Superman the movie. You know, the dead cat from Superman the movie? Like the one he rescues from the tree. I don't know how this person got a hold of it, but it's got a certificate of authenticity. Dead cat from Superman, you know?
Yes.
So I have that. I've got a few nice little things here and there. But you know what? You know what's lovely about working in comics? You get them for free sometimes. Sometimes you give you some free artwork and all that. So I've got loads lying around the office, lots of Frank Whiteley, Adam Kubert. The only person who's never given me a free drawing is Brian Hitch. You know, and I said to Brian, I'd love some of your stuff, you know, because I've worked for you for a decade. And he says, well, you know, my dealer's phone number, you could get
See, all of my favourite belongings have been free. They're stuff that I've just kind of picked up from people. And, you know, people will look at them and go, why have you got that? Like, I've got a napkin with a doodle on it. And it's like, perfect. I love this.
Is that because of the story behind it, or is that just because you're a cheapskate, though? Is it just because it's free?
For me, it's because it's stuff that, you know, just happens on the side. Like, you're sitting in a bar and you're like, oh, that guy can draw. Hey, draw this napkin.
But I've got to the point now where I hate paying for anything because all the comic companies send me free comics. If I have to spend £2 on a comic now, I'm like, what? You know, I'm actually horrified. I have to pay for stuff.
I'm like that going to conventions now because I can get press passes, and it's not that it gets to my head, but it definitely gets to my head. And if I have to pay, I'm like, I'm not going like some peasant.
I am a self-admitted queue snob because I'm always on a pro pass, like always on a professional pass now. Like I will not queue to get into anything ever. I'm just like, do you not know who I am? No, obviously not. No.
I was knocked back from a convention where I was the guest of honor, and I didn't have a pass, and I was getting the pass inside the hall. I was arranging to meet this guy. And like, I remember going up, it was one of those things where I didn't want to say those horrible words, do you know who I am, or whatever, you know? And I was so aware of all these people who would be on Twitter within seconds if I said it. I was trying to be really polite about it, you know? And I eventually, it took me 45 minutes, I had to queue with everyone and then explain to the person, you know, once I got to the dance.
Oh my God, you're nicer than us then.
Awesome. I've got another one that I really like on Twitter for you, Mark, which is from Samurai OX. What has been the character you've been the most proud in creating? I've got to say, I know I've said it to you before, but I loved Huck. I thought he was just the loveliest.
Oh, great. Do you know, I think I kind of love Huck as well. I think he maybe my favourite as well. The thing I love about Huck is the idea that, you know, like, when even Superman, I've said this before, but when even Superman snaps someone's neck as the solution to a problem, I love the idea that Huck won't even punch someone. You know, he's just so nice. And I thought, can I really do this for a whole series? Like, just have him solve problems by being really nice, you know? And I thought, will an audience respond to that? But I think it's so different from everything else that audiences did react really well to it. So, Hit Girl also, I do love because I based it on my oldest kid. I based the character on my oldest kid. But again, I feel really paternalistic with Hit Girl because, you know, all the Hit Girl Big Daddy training we used to do in real life, and I do that with all my kids, you know. So like, so when I watch it in the movie and I read it in the comic, it's just like watching our real life, apart from the handguns and all that, you know. But I'll give you an example. I mean, last night my two youngest are 2 and 4. And I set an assault course for them before they go to bed every night. So it's like Hit Girl Big Daddy training, right? So what I do is I'll set up all these things around the house, like where they have to get up the stairs and swing over stuff and jump over things. And what I always do is set an alarm on the iPad as if it's going to explode. And they've got to do it all within 3 minutes and then slam down on the iPad and stop it from exploding, kind of thing. So they've got superhero training every night before they go to bed. You know?
Okay, my ovaries have just exploded.
But the girls take it so seriously. It's so funny because especially my 2-year-old, you know, and she's got to the point now where I do pretend she has powers. Like if we're opening up a DVD, if opening up the DVD or something, she puts her hands out like this, like Magneto. And I press the button on the remote and then the DVD opens, you know, so we do all this kind of stuff. And if we walk through the airport, she'll put her hands up to make the doors open and everything. You know,
Yes.
But the
I
best
still do
part
that.
is my 4-year-old told her off for doing it. And she said, we do not use our powers in public or people will realise who we are. So they're taking this really seriously.
Cutest thing. Actually, we don't want to talk to you anymore. Can we just talk to your kids?
But they are awesome. I mean, look, my 4-year-old, her other big thing right now is Ray Harryhausen, and she loves Jason and the Argonauts, and she loves Clash of the Titans, you know. And it was funny, we were sitting watching Clash of the Titans last Sunday. I mean, it's on quite a lot. We watch it about once a week. And she said to me, Dad, the gods that we pray to in school, is that like Zeus and those guys and Aphrodite? And I was like, how do I answer this?
See, my answer would have been, if that's who you want to pray to, you pray. I pray to Aphrodite every day.
That's amazing.
So I think that kind of leads me on to a little question. Like, because obviously in your time writing, you've written some really kind of shocking and extreme stuff, but in recent years you've kind of mellowed a lot. Would you say that has anything to do with having kids?
No, do you know, it's funny, I mix it up a lot, you know, like 90% of my stuff has been all ages. It's really weird, like Ultimates, I wasn't even allowed to use the word hell in Ultimate, genuinely. So I would have Captain America say things like, what the ... you know, but because it was kind of written quite sophisticatedly and drawn very sophisticatedly, it kind of looked more mature than it was. But when you go back and look, you don't even see blood. Someone gets shot and it kind of happens in the background or off panel and everything. So we sort of look more mature than we are, but when you actually go back and look, I think everything I did at Marvel was all ages, like pretty much everything. So my whole 10 years at Marvel and most of my DC. So what I tend to do is I'll do maybe 4 or 5 years of very safe stuff, you know, and then I'll do a year or 2 of doing something a little crazy, just trying it out. But then I get kind of bored of that, and then I do really safe stuff again. But I actually find I prefer doing the all ages stuff because I think it makes you work a little harder. Like, I would say that I generally, as a rule, don't put swearing in most books. I put it in Kick-Ass because it was appropriate to Kick-Ass because that's the way teenage boys talk, you know. But like, but I actually think it's a bit like a comedian. I remember Jerry Seinfeld saying that it's too easy, you know, to just throw in a profanity kind of thing as your punchline. It's so much smarter to just have a great line, you know. So
I agree completely. I mean, like, I find when I'm reading comics and like it's just swearing all the time, I get so bored. I mean, recently I was rereading Nemesis, and it just reminded me how little Nemesis actually. I don't think he swears. The characters around him do.
Yeah.
But I don't think he does, apart from maybe like twice. And I was like, oh yeah, this is much nicer than I remember.
It's fun, yeah. There's the illusion of something, you know, like Chrononauts, for example, I think there's no swearing at all. I think there's one swear word. Empress has one very minor swear word.
Yeah.
None at all. Reborn, I don't think has any, maybe one, if at all. You know, so I just think as a writer, it's a good exercise. Because
it can certainly look a little amateur when it's just like, oh, F this and...
Well, you don't want to sausage party it up, do you?
Yeah. And it's funny, like Hit Girl, it works great because it's really interesting visually to see someone who's 10 swearing and shooting people. Like, that's interesting because you hadn't seen that before at that point, you know? So that kind of works, but if you just have a Punisher type guy doing that, then it's a little samey, you know, you've seen that kind of thing lots. So I think if you're going to swear, do it cleverly.
I remember watching Kick-Ass in the cinema, and I cried so much, my date had to ask if I needed to leave. I'm a daddy's girl, and watching that scene of him going up in flames, I was hysterical. But I remember when I was leaving, to this day, I still don't understand how it was a 15.
Yeah.
But everything, I was okay with everything. I'm okay with violence. I'm okay with profanity or nudity. But the one thing that stuck with me was the fact that a girl was swearing. And I went, because that's not acting. She really had to swear. She was a young girl swearing. So you're right. It does kind of hit you like that.
It really is. It's a movie moment. I mean, that moment really stays with people. And it was the same in the comic too. And I remember actually seeing it in the screenplay when Matthew and Jane did the screenplay. I was sitting in Matthew's house reading it, and I walked into the other room because Matthew and Jane were sitting in the other room. And I came in halfway through reading the screenplay, and I said, "You've kept the C-bomb in here, you know?" And he said, "Yeah, we're not going to do it in the actual movie, though. We've just written it in the screenplay." And then it just sort of got filmed, and then it just ended up out there. Anyways, we were all kind of surprised that it got through because we didn't think it would get through any of the censors. But I was actually
to be fair though, it was like the greatest introduction to a young female character in any movie I think I've ever seen.
It kind of is pretty damn cool, isn't it? You know, like
I was just like, yes, I love her already. There we go.
I was proper. I was on a date. I was like, oh, she swore.
And also, if you think about it, I mean, this seems almost weird now because things have changed a lot in the last 5 years, but you didn't really see that many sort of action heroines. I know we had Ripley and Alien, but it's kind of rare to see somebody do awesome stuff. Because Ripley was surviving, you know, in Alien, she was just fighting and surviving. But you know, somebody who's as highly trained as Batman, being a girl, like that, almost, I can't think of anything in cinema prior to that was like that, you know? Like, you'd Kill Bill, I guess you'd Kill Bill, but there wasn't really a lot of those kind of things. And you had movies like Aeon Flux and Elektra and Catwoman that were all not very good. But I think
and the other thing is, they were all grown women.
Yes, yeah.
That's the big difference for me. I mean, like, obviously, when I was watching that, I was younger than I am now. Yeah. And I could relate closer to her than I could to, say, Kill Bill.
Yeah, yeah. And there's a wish fulfillment a bit there, isn't there, as well? Because I think if I was a 12-year-old girl or something watching that on DVD, when I probably shouldn't be, I would want to be.
Like, she's a badass. Like,
Yeah,
she's an outright badass. So I was just like, oh my God, she's amazing.
Sometimes I stick on those moments, you know, like the Hit Girl corridor scene or Hit Girl in the drug den and so on. But every now and then, just when I'm bored and having a tea break, I stick it on because they're cool moments when you watch them in the movie again. You kind of forget how well directed that stuff is. It's really good.
I think the film in itself is revolutionary because I have to admit, I prefer your much more mellow stuff. But at the time, there was no real film out there that said, could anyone be a superhero?
Yeah.
It was always, you had to get bitten by a spider or be a billionaire. It was like, there was no in between. And all of a sudden, there was this kid who went, I want to help out. I want to be a superhero. And that was, once again, like the way you always do stuff. It was a real world, but with a question we'd all asked and wanted and fantasized over, but no one had made a story out of.
Yeah.
And I also think the other part of it for me was the fact that, you know, he did get his ass handed to him.
Yeah.
And it's a big learning curve, you know, that it's a metaphor for life in itself. It's like, today I got the shit kicked out of me, but tomorrow I'm going to do better.
I'm not going to get as much shit kicked out of me.
Exactly.
It's funny because Kick-Ass is quite easy to write because you just take something that's a superhero trope and then flip it, you know, you turn it upside down. Because Batman always runs into a crowd of 5 guys and beats them all. Whereas Kick-Ass, you just think, okay, he's going to lose. You know, that's be the reality of it. And it's actually really easy to write Kick-Ass because you just take something that Batman does and he just does it wrong. You know, you just and if Kick-Ass swings through a window, he's going to land on the other side and have to go to hospital because he's covered in broken glass, you know. So it's pretty easy, right, Kick-Ass? I love doing that. I kind of miss Kick-Ass. I love doing it.
Did you enjoy doing the sequels just as much as the original?
Yeah, I think the third volume's the best volume. I think the third volume's the best of them. And the ending I was so pleased with. I don't want to spoil it for anybody who hasn't read it, but I think it's the perfect ending to it. You know, like, I did find it hard because you had a weight of expectation after the movie because I just wrote a comic. You know, in 2006 I started writing this comic, and then suddenly it's a movie and there's a bad video game of it you can get, and there's toys and there's Pez dispensers. And then suddenly I'm writing the next issue of the comic. It was just suddenly that this thing got so much bigger than I ever expected it to be. So I was expecting just to do my little indie comic, and you know, it just ticked along, and it just ended up becoming this big global thing. It was weird.
Which of your comics would you most like to be a movie next?
Well, I'm very lucky actually that they're all kind of getting made. Really, you know, they're all in various stages of production. I think Starlight I'm kind of excited by, you know, because I love sci-fi and. I love that idea of I've always loved, as a kid, I loved Unforgiven and that idea of the old guy back for one last adventure. And I've never seen that with sci-fi before, just an old blue-collar guy, you know, putting on the suit again and going off into space in one of those old sparkly rockets. And it's a very human story, Starlight, so I think it would work really well. We're at the stage now where we're looking at potential lead actors, and it's just quite exciting because he's at that age where it has to be a legend who plays him, you know, like all the guys who were big 80s actors are now old men. So they're kind of perfect for it. They're the last proper movie stars before Spider-Man and Batman replaced the movie stars. You know, these big guys from the 80s, you know, they're suddenly the perfect age for something like this. So it'd be really exciting to be on a poster with one of those guys. Being on a poster with Michael Caine for Kingsman was awesome. I mean, that's pretty amazing. Being on a poster with Nicolas Cage is amazing, or Angelina Jolie or whatever. But, you know, to be on a poster with a Bruce Willis or a Mel Gibson or whatever, you know, any of those things would just be... Just as a fanboy, it'd be so exciting.
Are we getting a Huck movie?
I just want to wear.
Oh, sorry, what was that?
I said, are we getting a Huck movie? That's what I want.
That's over at Sony right now. You know, like Channing Tatum is perfect. Channing Tatum's perfect.
Yeah, I
for that.
got him as well.
And he's such a lovely person. And I think the camera can always tell if you're a lovely person. And I think people like Channing Tatum. And there's some people, if you cast them as Huck, you wouldn't buy that they were doing all these good deeds, but Channing Tatum is kind of like that in real life. Like, he just did Kingsman 2, The Golden Circle, and everybody loved him. Nobody had a bad word to say about him. He was everybody's favourite guy, you know? So I just think he would be perfect for Huck. He's just the perfect guy to play that.
Yeah, that's who I'd cast in my head as Huck as well.
See, I just want to give you props for managing to get like 2 different ages of people that I find really attractive into one movie. you got Taron Egerton and Colin Firth. Like, good choice.
I had no idea how much girls love Colin Firth.
Oh yeah,
Until
absolutely.
I was hanging about with them in America, right? And it was girls who probably didn't know who he was. It was just, people who in a shop, And like, he's not one of those actors that's instantly recognizable in other countries, the way that Tom Cruise or somebody is or whatever. So I don't think it was the fame thing, because it wasn't one of those things where we walked into a place and everybody spun round the way it would if you walked in with Will Smith or something, But it was just like everybody flirts with him. It's really weird. Like, even somebody who's 22 or something is kind of flirting with him. Like, everybody finds him attractive.
So traditionally handsome, though.
Well, it made me feel so much more attractive. Like, I felt so attractive hanging out with him because everybody was kind of looking over at us. It gave me an afternoon of being Colin Firth, just standing in his glow a little bit, It was nice.
I have friends like that, and I just feel honoured to be allowed to stand next to them. And then I feel like I must get some of their attractiveness just by like breathing their air.
You're just getting it by osmosis. Just stand really close.
Do you know who Taron women go crazy for as well?
I love him.
He's got a real charm. Very nice guy. And
he's got such a cheeky face.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
He's so cheeky looking that you just think you could get away with actual murder.
But it's funny, the audition tapes come up here. It's like an online streaming thing. When somebody's auditioning, I can watch them up in Scotland and I can see every day who's been in. And Matthew showed me Taron's tape. And I always like to check. All my house is all women, and I've got lots of, most of my relatives are women. So I always check to see how hot someone is. And it's kind of creepy. I'll get my wife's friend round and say, "Is this guy hot? Is this guy hot?" And they all went crazy for Taron. Like, the minute they saw his audition tape, they thought he was beautiful, as well as being a great actor, because I thought he nailed the character so well. But it's so important that the audience kind of falls in love with them too, And I was like, but is he good looking enough? And they were like, trust me, he's really and likewise, Aaron Johnson.
I was just going to say that.
Oh, I love him as well.
And he's one of those guys, I think, who's getting better looking as he gets older as well, Aaron Johnson,
Yeah, I was so happy.
He was a little bit gawky when he started in Kick-Ass, but he's now a traditionally handsome guy,
Yeah, I was so happy in Kick-Ass too when he took his shirt off. I was like, yes.
My dentist said this to me, right, about a year and a half ago. I was in the dentist, and like the dentist and the hygienist were both chatting to me. And I was kind of chatting the way you do to the dentist when they've got things in your mouth. And she said, I love Aaron Johnson. I absolutely love him. And she said, and the hygienist said, my favourite bit? And the dentist said back to her, when he takes his shirt off. It was freaking me out. I'm lying there getting a filling.
So to recap, I've been telling you how you inspired me for my business, how you're an inspiration, and Holly's like, thank you for getting hot men.
And so am I.
Yeah. That's pretty much the Gamma Dames podcast in a nutshell.
But yeah, I mean, I think the one that I'm most excited for, only because now I kind of feel a little bit like it's my baby too, is Empress. Like, I can't wait to see what you do with that in movies. Only because I've spent that time kind of making that outfit and bringing that to life.
You were the first one.
I can't get over that picture. Like, have you ever taken that to a con?
Not yet.
You should.
But I'm going to.
Like, that's insane. That's like,
yeah.
The little Indian in the cupboard, that film where you put the toy in and it came alive. It's like someone put that comic in a cupboard and you came out of it. That's what that cosplay looked like.
Well, the actress that Mark has, someone has told me before that I look like her anyway, so I think that kind of helped.
Yeah, it's like facially, I don't know if it was the editing or the angle, but you because you kind of look like her anyway, but in that picture it looks amazing.
She's going to be amazing in this. I mean, you guys haven't read issue 7 yet. You know what, I'll send you guys a little preview of issue 7. I'll send you a link to it, it won't be out for but there's a scene at the end, the big final act to the whole movie is her thing, like she's awesome in it. and you'll love it. It's really good. But whenever it's the movie, that's going to be such a movie moment. Kind of like Hit Girl's first appearance. Like, people are not going to believe what they're seeing this actress do. It's great. I like it.
Oh, I'm so excited. If the opportunity arises, can I come and work in the makeup trailer on that one?
Well, if it's in the UK, come down. You know, like, I'm not sure where this is going to get shot, because the director has just been nailed just now. We obviously have our lead actress. And the screenplay, the final draft of the screenplay came in last week. So I'm actually off on holiday in the morning, and I'm going to read the final draft while I'm away. So it's getting very close. The guys who are producing this are really brilliant. So, like, if it's in the UK, come over. We'll do that.
I'm Bagsying a slot on that one.
It'll cost you one drink.
Fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll buy you a bottle, let alone a drink. That's no problem.
But yeah, that would be awesome, because I mused over it for so long, like trying to make that corset and that skirt. I think now I kind of get what you mean, you know, like, because I've seen it all come into fruition and everything else. I've been so excited just because I had like a tiny part in making one outfit.
Yeah.
So I totally get why you'd be so proud of, you know, like, everything that you've created. I get it now. I didn't before.
Yeah, it's funny. It's like a gestation, because it sounds like you're kidding when you say it's like a kid, but it's a long process. It's a bit like a pregnancy, isn't it? And you see it coming together, and you hope it's all going to be okay. And then when it's out there, you feel so proud, and even when it doesn't work out as well as you hope, sometimes you still feel really close to it and hope it's okay. You know?
Well, we have officially taken up a whole hour of your time. We said 20 minutes, but it's been like a whole hour. So
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Not at all. Anytime, guys.
Genuinely.
And we should all go out for a drink when I do a signing in one of the stores, you know, so like...
definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, you know where mine is.
Yeah, we're all kind of in like different, because I'm in Essex near London, so...
But me and Lucy are very close to each other. Because she's Liverpool and I'm Macclesfield.
See, like, how far away is that, like, geographically? How many miles?
About
An
40
hour
minutes.
from me to Lucy.
That's not bad, you know. Because Frank Whiteley and I are going to do a big signing session. We're going to do a tour, kind of like the one I did last year. We're going to work our way through England, so we should get something going, and then we'll all get out for a beer after, you know.
Which is a great plan. My shop is directly opposite a pub.
I know many pubs. I'm from Liverpool. Many pubs, many good ones.
Mine's between a rock venue and a strip club.
Oh, okay, Holly wins.
She wins.
She was sitting there going, I'll let them finish. It's okay.
That was like Superman applying for membership in the Justice League. That's a slam dunk.
I can fight. I've got money. I have all the power. Okay.
Yeah, amazing.
Oh, let's definitely do this.
Yeah,
I'm going to take the family with me. I'll leave them outside the pub, the children. I'm going to do a big tour all the way down Britain again, because the one we did last year was amazing fun. It's a shame we never saw you, Lucy. We were in Liverpool and we missed you.
Yeah, it was a kind of annoying, because like where you were signing was only one road away from my shop, but it's just...
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Is your the shop across the roads?
Like on the next road over, so there's Bold Street, there's Renshaw Street, and that's where my shop is.
Oh man.
Yeah, but like we were both busy, so like you're not the only busy one, Mark.
That would be the perfect end to the podcast. That would be amazing.
I just want my mic so I could drop it and just walk away.
And then you just switch me off. Hang on, see, before we go though, can I see the rest of the toys on that shelf besides Simba?
Are you sure you're ready?
I can see Stitch.
We're not prepared.
I can see two Stitches. Hang on,
There's a lot.
I can see.
Holly, you have a problem?
There's a lot.
I can see it. There's a dead body in that corner.
Yeah. I feel like this
No, that's
a vampire.
under there is her sex robot. That's what that is.
Susan.
But
amazing.
Look at Lucy's shelves. They're perfect. They look absolutely
They are so awesome.
organised.
And then I have the geeky stuff at the top as well, and more comics there.
Wow. You can tell you have a shop because it's so beautifully laid out.
You see, mine is rubbish. All I've got is a piece of Fight Club art by one of my favourite tattooists, and that's it. Yay!
I feel you've been held captive in a cell or something.
You'll never
No, all
believe
of my
this
stuff
geek
is
house, put a poster
downstairs.
there.
Like, literally, that's it. Ooh, Fight Club, yay!
There's blood on a wall in a Fight Club.
It's so me. That's exactly how it is. No, all of my stuff is kept downstairs, else I'd never get any sleep. So up here, it's just cosplay stuff. I'm just looking around. Yeah, I have my Batwoman mask, some books.
I've got my one as well.
Yeah. I love that both of us have done Batwoman. I think that's one of the first things we bonded over.
What's your next big cosplay? What are you doing? What are you making at the moment?
I actually am going to do some men this year. So I'm currently training a lot. I've got a personal trainer, and I'm training down and down and down in weight, but up in muscle.
Right.
I'm doing Spawn, like really realistic Spawn, and then I'm doing 3 variations of Joker.
Okay. I remember you saying that. That's awesome.
Yeah, so I'm going to do an Alex Ross, I'm going to do a Liber Mayo, and I'm going to do the classic animated. And I've got a guy called Sean Harrison that did the makeup for the Civil War movie, and he did Red Skull for the Captain America movie. He's doing full face prosthetics for me for all 3. So
that sounds amazing.
Yeah, I think it's going to be great.
Has there been many women do the Joker? Has there been much female Joker cosplay?
A lot of people do like femme Joker, but I want to do like legitimately ugly man Joker.
I think a really cool Joker would actually be really brilliant. Even in the movie, I think that'd be interesting. Because the Joker is weirdly androgynous anyway. So
yeah, exactly.
You know, and like Frank Miller's Joker in particular had that kind of David Bowie look and everything as well.
Yeah, which I adore.
Yes,
and who was it recently on Suicide Squad?
Yeah.
Oh, who drew it? The guy that is drawing that at the moment, he did the perfect panel of the Joker, like in his classic suit, just leaning.
Yeah.
And looking really Bowie-esque, and I was just like, oh, perfect, that is it.
Did you see
I'm really
Suicide Squad movie? Did you go and see the movie? Did you say?
No, I refused. I outright refused to go and see it because the Joker is my boy. I absolutely love him, and I will not pay for a bastardization of him. So.
Wow. I did go and see it for my sins. I did go, and it was pretty bad. I didn't enjoy it. Although I am kind of in love with Margot Robbie. Like, in a weird way, but I do find, if I look at my internet search history, I do probably Google it.
Are you attracted to her, or do you like the Harley Quinn she portrays? Because I think the character she does is great, but it's not Harley Quinn.
Yes, it's a different thing, totally, yeah. But I think she looks great as Harley Quinn, though. She looks amazing, you know. And
that's me with Ledger. I've always said Ledger was a great character, but he wasn't the Joker.
Yeah.
But the Joker's kind of open to so many interpretations. That's what I think is really cool about it. Like, to me, Cesar Romero is different from Heath Ledger and different from Jack Nicholson.
I love Cesar Romero.
But they are all the Joker, and Mark Hamill's the Joker for me too, that I love.
Yeah, definitely.
I think my favourite Batman ever is the animated series. Like,
yeah.
I really love that show.
You can't compete with an animated character because they can be unrealistically perfect, and how can you get that in reality?
But Batman has never been cooler than when it was the animated Batman. I thought that Batman was amazing. Love it.
Yeah, for Damien's birthday this year, like I bought him the big animated Batmobile, and then like loads of the animated series characters, you know, in action figure form. And they're so good. And it's one of those things where I'm like, you have to love the animated series. It's the best one.
It's funny because I sort of have everything picked out for certain ages, so they really are age appropriate for them, you know. And I feel that the Batman animated stuff is so well done that I don't want it's a waste on the kids when they're young. I want them to be a little bit older and realise just how good it is. So I've held that one back a little bit. So they're watching the Adam West show at the moment, but maybe when
Damien loves that.
Yeah,
I still love that.
The Batman animated, I think.
It's like the one best thing about being a parent is the fact that you get to go, now I'm going to introduce you to this and you're going to love it.
Yeah. It's nice, isn't it? Although it's funny, my oldest daughter, she loved Star Wars. Like I showed her Star Wars, and I waited till she was 7, and I thought I'll show her Star Wars because that's at 7, because that's the age I was, and then I'll show her the next week Empire Strikes Back, and she's going to absolutely love it and everything, you know. And she watched it, and she really loved Star Wars. And then the following week, I was like, I've got a huge treat for you. We're going to put on Empire now, and she was great, you know. And then I saw her on her phone about 20 minutes into it, you know, and I realized she was just doing it for me, and it was sweet. But it was a shame because I thought that she was into it, but she was just kind of like pleasing me by watching it, you know. So I have to be slightly sensitive to what they want to watch themselves. So I still let them choose their own show as well as my own brainwashing at the same time.
My dad tried to do that with darts.
Oh.
And I would pretend I loved it because I loved my daddy so much.
Oh, I did that with bird watching. I did it with bird watching. He'd be like, what was that? And I was like, a chaffinch. And he was like, you're right. I was like, yay.
Do you know a lot about darts now?
Yeah, it's Phil Taylor's still my favourite darts player. And he's still playing, isn't he? So
I love that because you picked it up and it'll never leave you. You'll have that darts knowledge forever.
We had a dartboard in the kitchen, and he used to teach me how to play. And there was a picture of me holding a pint of beer at 8 years old with a cigar in my mouth. I wasn't smoking it, but my dad wanted, because he's a good parent, to pose me with this. And his mum came round the next day, and I panicked and ripped it up. And my dad was like, "You could have just hidden it. You didn't have to destroy it."
Well, my wife knows everything about tractors because her dad worked with tractors. So if we're driving somewhere and we see like a tractor in the distance, she can tell you the brand and probably the year it was made and things like that, you know. But it's funny, you just do things to please your parents too, don't you? It's weird.
See, I still get to call on my bird knowledge when I'm out in public because they're going to go, oh, that was a chiff-chaff, and people are like, how do you know that?
I'm really lucky because my dad got me into comic books. So my dad is into cool stuff. Yeah.
See, my dad's not a geek at all. He just doesn't understand how I got into games or comics. It's just
really?
Yeah, my parents aren't either at all. Like they've never been into it. It was something that I just kind of fell into. Because I was walking past a shop and they had Batman Black and White with a Jim Lee cover, and I was like 8, and I remember looking at it and thinking, holy crap, like that's the best thing I've ever seen. So I went in and bought it, and my dad luckily was very, very accepting of that. He was just like, yeah, whatever, you know, if you want to buy it, buy it. But yeah, my mum raised me on horses, and dad was bird watching and classic cars.
That's amazing. My mum loved bingo. My mum loved bingo, so I know everything about bingo. Like, I can cover.
Do you know all the number names?
That was the only skill I picked up from my parents. I'm really good at bingo. I could cover like 10 books. Like that's amazing.
Do you know how to announce every number in bingo then?
I do. I actually do.
Amazing.
As a little kid, I spent so much time in bingo halls that I picked it up by osmosis. You know, so like I know everything you want. So, on that note, we should probably I don't think we're going to get any better than that.
No. I was going to challenge you to a few, but we are already over time.
We can throw one in if you want to before we go.
Do they all have a name? Or do
41. 41.
41? 4 and 1, 41. It's just 4 and 1, 41.
That's a bit boring.
If it was 21, it would be like key of the door. 21, legs 11 if it was 11. That kind of.
Awesome. What we should have done is actually got a bingo machine and but we should have played Mark Miller bingo. That's what we should have done.
And the winner gets cheese.
Yes. Oh yeah, we forgot to ask you while you're here.
Yeah.
What is your favourite cheese?
Oh, cheese means a lot to me.
Oh, it's
me too.
It means a huge amount to me because I was a vegetarian for 16 years, right? And like most vegetarians, all I did was substitute every meal for cheese. So I would have cheese for breakfast, cheese for lunch.
I'm a vegetarian then.
So like, you know, I wasn't vegan or anything. I was veggie, so like I never ate any meat, but I ate cheese constantly, and I would just sit and eat blocks of cheese and everything because I was a terrible cook, and cheese is really easy to make. You just cut it, you know. So, you know, so like my favorite cheese, I would say probably Port Salut. Port Salut is a really nice.
Oh yeah, that's a good
really
one.
nice. Yeah, it's amazing. I
love that one.
I could eat a whole block of that. I could actually just sit and eat a whole block of that. You know?
Yeah, it's amazing. My mum used to give me that one as a treat. That was my treat cheese.
Treat cheese.
But I also recommend Scottish cheddar as well, which I don't know if do you get Scottish cheddar in England?
No, you'll have to mail me some.
I'll send it off as butter and it'll arrive as cheese. But
yeah, cheese in the mail.
That is, Scottish cheddar is bright orange, like bright orange, right? So all the cheese I ate as a kid was bright orange. Like I don't even mean like natural orange, like the sort of orange
like
that
Leicester orange.
they'd go like that if you saw it, you know. And like because it's so irradiated with preservatives.
Iron brew.
It's exactly brew, yeah. So all good things are bright orange, and when I was a kid. That's all I got, and I didn't know cheese wasn't naturally bright orange because it was.
You looking at natural cheese going, has that gone off or something?
Yeah, honestly, I saw pale cheese. Genuinely, I was like 35, and I saw pale cheese, and I was like, oh, it looks so limp. You know, I need some orange.
What's this in cheese?
But this is why we all die at 55. You know. So.
Well,
we won't be far behind
Miller
you.
said it first. What his favourite cheese is.
And on that note, we can call it a day. But yeah, thanks again very much for coming and joining us, and I hope you all have a lovely holiday.
I can't wait.
Yeah,
Really
have a good time.
Thanks very much. Thanks.
Thank you for coming.
So I'll see you guys soon.
Yeah.
You will indeed. Thank you.
Catch you later then.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh my god!
I could tell, like Lucy was like holding it in for so much. I could, Lucy, your face when he started talking about his kids, you were like 1 moment away from just tearing your clothes off.
Just putting out on like Craigslist for the first man who wants to give me a child. I will accept it.
Yeah. Oh, how amazing!
I did.
You did so well. You did so well. I'm so proud of you.
Yeah, I was so glad you got to tell him about your him being the reason you opened it and stuff. I was hoping you'd.
I was like, I have to tell him. I know it's a bit fangirly, but he has to know.
He has to know. Oh, amazing! And he stayed chatting to us for so long.
He did. He did. It was
What
so
a sweetheart!
good.
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah.
And for everybody that did stay watching, considering we've now been going for like an hour and 15 minutes.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Let us know if you want us to have more guests
Because we do have
and
some
maybe,
lined up.
Yeah.
We do.
And
And they are good.
Let us know if you have any suggestions of guests that maybe you want us to talk to. That would be cool. Just tweet us at the Gamma Dames.
I mean, we're not like magic,
yeah.
so don't say Stan Lee.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. I mean, we'll try.
Yeah,
But...
like, we don't quite have that much pull.
No.
Yet.
yeah. Give us a wink.
But I mean, if you guys want to tweet creators like, hey, you should talk to these girls, then feel free to do that as well. That would help our case.
Yes, it would.
Awesome. So I think, is that everything from us this week?
I think that might be it. I mean, like we
it
thought
isn't,
we
it's
only
not-
had Mark for 20 minutes, but we've way overshot that. So
We have blown our metaphorical load. So thank you, everybody, for watching and witnessing that. We hope you enjoyed, and we will see you in a month or so. So
Yeah.
keep your eyes on our various social media at the Gamma Dames on Twitter, the Gamma Dames on Instagram, and the Gamma Dames on Facebook. And we will put up information of when the next one is. So yeah, thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon.
bye.